I took a secret DNA test my mom forbade since childhood. Now I'm afraid to see the results. I, 19F, have spent my entire life feeling like a puzzle piece forced into the wrong box. This post is going to be long because I need to lay out every single brick that built this wall of suspicion between me and my mother, Alexa, 39F. Growing up, the household was split into two very distinct categories: my brother, 18M, and everyone else. My brother is only a year younger than me, but the distance between how we were raised feels like decades. He is the image of my mother. Dark hair, the same nose, the same smile, and, most importantly, the same freckles. My mom and dad both have freckles, cheeks, shoulders, arms. My brother has them too. I don't have a single one. My skin is clear, and while everyone in the house has these deep, dark brown eyes that look almost black in the sunlight, mine have a ring of green. But the physical differences were nothing compared to the emotional ones. Alexa treated me like a resident she was forced to tolerate, while my brother was the golden prince. I remember being 7 years old, sitting at the kitchen table. We both spilled our juice at the same time. It was a total accident. My mom laughed it off with him, handed him a paper towel, and told him to be careful. For me, she grabbed my arm, told me I was always so clumsy and useless, and grounded me from the TV for a week. This was the pattern for my entire childhood. I got hit for things he was praised for. If I came home with a B on a test, I was wasting my potential and would have my door taken off its hinges. If he failed a class, she'd blame the teacher and take him out for ice cream to cheer him up. Alexa was obsessed with my privacy. She would spend hours going through my iPod, my texts, and my browser history, looking for one wrong word so she could blow up. She never once touched my brother's phone. Even when he was 16 and got his girlfriend pregnant, a massive life-changing event, she didn't ground him. She didn't take his phone. She just started planning how she could help with the baby. Meanwhile, if I stayed out 10 minutes past my curfew, I was the rebel child who was trying to ruin the family's reputation. Then there is the name. This is the part that I think about every single night. In my family, the lineage is clear through our names. My mother's maiden name is well known in our town. When she married my dad, 41M, she hyphenated it. My dad and my brother share the same last name. It's the name on the mailbox. It's the name on the mortgage. But my last name? It's completely different. It's not my mom's maiden name. It's not my dad's name. It isn't even a name from the extended family tree. None of my aunts, uncles, or cousins share it. When I was 10, I found my social security card while looking for a stapler in the office. I saw the name and asked Alexa why it didn't match theirs. She turned on me instantly. I remember the way her eyes narrowed. She didn't explain it. She just got incredibly defensive, yelling that I was too young to understand legal paperwork and that I should stop snooping in things that aren't my business. She never gave me a straight answer. To this day, I am the only person in my entire family circle with this specific last name, and questioning it is the fastest way to start a war. 2 years ago, I reached my limit. The toxicity, the hitting, the constant feeling that I was an intruder in my own home, it was too much. I met my spouse and we decided to move 1,000 miles away. I didn't give them a choice. I didn't ask for permission. I just packed my bags and left. Being away gave me the space to realize how weird everything actually was. My dad is totally nonchalant about my life. He's controlled by Alexa in a way that's hard to describe. It's like he's opted out of having a personality, so he doesn't have to deal with her temper. He never checked in on me. He never asked why I had a different name. He just let her run the show. Last month, my wife and I went back for the holidays. It was the first time I had been in that house for a long period since I moved. We were all sitting in the living room playing a card game. It was supposed to be a fun, light-hearted night. My brother was there. My dad was half asleep in his chair, and Alexa was presiding over the table. A card came up that said, "Drink if you have ever gotten a DNA test." The room was warm, the Christmas lights were blinking, and for a second, I felt brave. I had already purchased the kit. I had been thinking about it for years. The promise I made Alexa as a child that I'd never do it was a weight on my chest. She had made me promise that several times, which in itself is suspicious. Why would you tell a child to never take a DNA test unless there was a secret to keep? I reached for my drink. I took a slow, deliberate sip. I didn't break eye contact with Alexa. The temperature in the room dropped 30 degrees. Alexa's entire demeanor shifted. The fake holiday smile vanished, replaced by a look of pure, unadulterated rage. "You're F***ing joking, right?" she spat. The cards in her hand were shaking. Are you stupid? Why would you waste money on something so ridiculous? The table went dead silent. My wife, who knows all my suspicions, gave me a look of pure terror. She knew how Alexa could get. I felt that old familiar panic rising in my throat, the feeling of being a trapped teenager. I laughed awkwardly, a dry, hollow sound. Yeah, I'm joking, I said, putting the glass down. Could you imagine? I was just teasing. She didn't relax. She spent the rest of the game staring at me, her eyes tracking my every move like I was a threat. It was the confirmation I didn't want, but the one I needed. The irony of Alexa's reaction is that her oldest sister, my aunt, actually took a DNA test in August 2024. It was a huge deal. It ended up connecting her to a relative they didn't know existed, a long-lost sister. The family celebrated it. They were fascinated by the hidden history. But for some reason, when it comes to me taking a test, it's stupid and an act of betrayal. I sent my kid out in mid-December. Since that holiday visit, the guilt has been rotting me from the inside out. I am so used to being open with her, despite how she treated me. Carrying this secret feels like a stab in the back. I keep wondering, Ada for doing this? Am I ruining a family for the sake of my own curiosity? I started looking back at the stories she told me about my birth. They change every single time. When I was a kid, she told me that nobody was in the delivery room with her, that she was all alone, and it was so hard. A few years later, the story changed. Suddenly, her mom and her two sisters were there, holding her hands. Then there's the issue of my dad. For years, she said he wasn't there because he was sleeping at home. Then, during a late-night argument when I was 16, she claimed they were actually broken up when she was pregnant with me and when she had me. But then, looking at the timeline for my brother's birth just a year later, my dad was there for everything. He was the perfect partner for his pregnancy. Then there was the ex-boyfriend. About 3 years ago, Alexa offhandedly mentioned that an ex of hers had tried to reach out to her on social media. She said she blocked him immediately. When I asked why he'd reach out after 20 years, she got that defensive, sharp tone again and shut the conversation down. When I was much younger, I pushed her to tell me about her boyfriends before my dad. She told me she didn't want to talk about them because I'd say something stupid. Eventually, she admitted she got pregnant by one of them but had a miscarriage. I made a joke, the kind of dumb joke kids make, and said, "Imagine if he's actually my dad, since I always joked about being adopted." She didn't laugh. She screamed at me. She called it stupid shit and didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. Now that I'm 19 and married, I've needed my legal documents for various things. Alexa gave me everything, my social security card, my shot records, my school transcripts. But she refused to give me my birth certificate. She told me I was irresponsible and that I would lose it. I have asked her for it dozens of times. Every time, it's a different excuse. I realized recently that I have actually never seen it. Not once. I don't even know what the paper looks like. 2 days ago, I finally texted her and told her I needed it for some paperwork. She hesitated, asked a million questions about why I wanted it, and finally said she would send it. It's been 2 days. She hasn't sent it. She went on a trip today and didn't even text me to say she landed, which is her ritual. The silence is deafening. I have taken things into my own hands. I ordered a new birth certificate from the state. It's supposed to arrive around February 17th. My DNA results from Ancestry should be in by February 7th. I am terrified. I'm stuck between wanting to know the truth and feeling like a monster for potentially blowing up my dad's life, if he doesn't know, or my mom's life, if she's been lying for 20 years. Am I the whole? Am I the one ruining things by seeking the truth? Or was the family already ruined by the lies? I feel like I'm about to set a fire that I won't be able to put out, and I don't know if I'm ready to see what's left when the smoke clears. Update. Hi. It's been 11 days since my last post. If you're new here, I added a link at the end of my post that should take you to my original post. The sub was for Ada originally, but I can only make one update, so I will have to change it later on. I apologize for any confusion. I'm a female BTW for those calling me a he lol. Anyways, I just wanted to give an update for everyone who has been asking for one. I was supposed to get my results in today for my Ancestry DNA test, but it got delayed and won't be in for about 2 more weeks now. I didn't expect that delay to affect me as much as it did, but apparently I had mentally prepared myself for today being the day everything either made sense or completely fell apart. Instead, I woke up, checked my email, and saw the notification saying processing was taking longer than expected. It felt like someone hit pause right when the movie finally reached the climax. So now I'm stuck in this weird in-between space where nothing is confirmed, but everything feels different anyway. However, I did order my own personal copy of my birth certificate since Alexa refuses to send me mine. This Tuesday coming up will make 2 weeks since Alexa and I have spoken, which honestly isn't normal for us. The longest we usually go without talking is maybe 3 days, and even that rarely happens. Silence from her has never been her style. Even when we argued growing up, she would still send random messages later, like nothing happened. This time is different. Alexa has basically ghosted me since I texted her asking for my birth certificate. 2 days after our last conversation about it, she left on a trip for a few days. Normally, every single time she flies, she texts me before takeoff when she lands, and sometimes even during layovers because she knows I have a fear of planes. It's been a routine for years. I didn't even realize how much I relied on those messages until they stopped. She didn't text me at all. I later found out she messaged my brother to tell him she landed safely, even though he rarely responds to her when she sends updates. That part bothered me more than I expected. It wasn't that she owed me a message. It was that she intentionally broke a pattern she's followed my entire life, but only with me. When she came back from her trip, there was still nothing. No, I'm home. No random meme, no check-in. Just silence. And that silence feels loud. People suggested I talk to my brother about doing a DNA test too, so I finally called him. I didn't go into every detail right away because I didn't want to overwhelm him, but I explained enough for him to understand why things feel off and why Alexa's suddenly not speaking to me is strange. I told him I'd been ghosted for almost 2 weeks and asked if he'd be willing to take an ancestry test so we could compare results and see how closely we're related. I honestly expected hesitation. Instead, he agreed almost immediately. He even admitted he'd been curious about doing one himself, just to see his background. Once I told him I'd cover the cost, he was completely on board. We decided I'll order the kit, and when he comes to visit me and my wife in my state, we'll do it here so Alexa doesn't see or find out beforehand. That conversation with him was oddly grounding. For the first time since all this started, I didn't feel like I was imagining things. He didn't dismiss my concerns or act like I was being dramatic. He didn't defend her behavior either. He mostly sounded confused, which somehow made me feel less alone. Another thing that's been bothering me is how abruptly Alexa changed her online behavior toward me. She usually sends me TikToks or Instagram Reels constantly throughout the day. I'm not exaggerating when I say it's easily 10 or more daily. It's been like that for years. Random videos about relationships, jokes, cooking clips, animals, anything she finds funny. It's one of the main ways we stayed connected after I moved away. Since I asked for my birth certificate, she hasn't sent a single one. She's still active. I can see her reposting things. I even responded to one of the last reels she sent me the day after our conversation, and she left me unseen. That alone felt surreal because she normally responds instantly, even if it's just an emoji. I don't know what she thinks ghosting me will accomplish. If anything, it's making my suspicions stronger. Avoiding me doesn't stop the DNA results from coming. It doesn't stop the birth certificate from arriving. It just makes everything feel more intentional. My 20th birthday is in 2 months, and the last time we spoke on the phone, she talked about planning a visit to come see me. She said she wanted to call back later that week, so we could figure out dates. That call never happened. Now I don't even know if I wanted to. I keep going back and forth between anger and guilt. Part of me wants to reach out just to break the tension because this level of silence feels unnatural. Another part of me feels too frustrated to pretend everything is fine. I don't trust myself to have a calm conversation right now. Every time I imagine talking to her, I picture myself asking questions she'll avoid or twist, and I can already feel the argument forming before it even happens. Update 2. Hi again. I honestly didn't expect to be back this soon, and I definitely didn't expect this update to look like this. A lot has happened in the past week, and I'm still trying to process it myself, so if this feels scattered, that's probably why. I thought the next update would be about my DNA results finally arriving, but something happened before that which changed everything. My birth certificate came in. I stared at the envelope for almost an hour before opening it. It sounds dramatic, but it felt heavier than paper should feel. Up until that moment, everything had been speculation and feelings. Once I opened it, there would be something concrete, something that either confirmed I was overthinking or proved that my instincts weren't random. When I finally opened it, the first thing I checked was the names. My mom's name was there exactly as expected. The father's name was not my dad's. At first, my brain genuinely refused to process it. I thought maybe I ordered the wrong document or maybe there was some administrative mistake. I reread it multiple times, checking the spelling, the dates, everything. But the information didn't change. There was a different man listed as my father. I didn't recognize the name immediately, which somehow made it worse. I kept waiting for recognition to click in, but it didn't. I just sat there staring at it while my hands started shaking. My wife was the one who finally broke the silence and asked me to read it out loud. Saying the name felt surreal, like I was reading someone else's story instead of my own life. And then something hit me. The ex-boyfriend Alexa used to get weird about whenever I asked questions growing up. The one she never wanted to talk about. The one she got angry about when I joked as a kid, asking if he could be my dad. I didn't know his last name back then, only his first name. But hearing it again unlocked a memory I hadn't thought about in years. I remembered overhearing my aunt mention him once during an argument when I was really young. At the time it meant nothing to essentially younger me, but suddenly it did. I called my brother that night. I didn't tell him right away. I asked casually if he remembered Mom ever mentioning that ex again, or if he knew the guy's full name. He paused for a second, and then said it, the exact same name printed on my birth certificate. That moment felt like the air left my lungs. There wasn't any room left for coincidence. My dad, the man who raised me, isn't listed as my biological father at all. And apparently everyone except me might have known at some level. My brother sounded shocked, but not in the same way I was. More like pieces were clicking together for him too. He admitted that growing up, he always noticed Mom treated me differently, but assumed it was personality clashes or favoritism. Neither of us ever considered there might be an actual reason behind it. After we hung up, I sat there thinking about every memory I'd been replaying these past weeks. The secrecy around documents. The anger whenever DNA tests were mentioned. The way she reacted to harmless questions. It all suddenly had context. The silence from Alexa makes a lot more sense now too. She knew what I would find. 2 days after the birth certificate arrived, something else happened that I still can't believe I actually did. I looked him up. I wasn't planning to at first. Part of me felt like that crossed some invisible line, but curiosity won. I searched the name online, not expecting much, but he came up almost immediately through social media and public records. And the first thing I noticed was the resemblance. It wasn't subtle. Same eye shape. Same smile lines. Even the same slightly uneven eyebrow I've always been self-conscious about. I sat there comparing photos longer than I want to admit, feeling this strange mix of recognition and grief for something I didn't even know I was missing. I didn't message him right away. Honestly, I panicked and closed everything. For 2 days, I walked around feeling like my life had shifted sideways. Nothing around me changed, but everything felt different. I kept wondering whether he even knew I existed. Whether my mom told him. Whether my dad, the man who raised me, knew the truth all along. That question hurt the most. Because if he knew and still chose to raise me, that changes how I see him completely. And if he didn't know, I don't even know how to begin thinking about that. Then yesterday, something unexpected happened. I got a message request. From him. I don't know how he found me. Maybe he had searched my mom before, maybe my last name change made me easier to find, or maybe it was coincidence. But the message was short and careful. He asked if I was Alexa's daughter. My hands were shaking so badly, I had to set my phone down before replying. We ended up talking for hours. I won't share everything because some of it feels private to him, but the biggest thing is this. He didn't know I existed. According to him, their relationship ended before I was born. Alexa told him she lost the pregnancy. He said he believed her and never contacted her again because he thought that chapter of his life was over. Reading that message felt like the ground disappeared under me. All these years, two people lived completely separate realities built on different versions of the same story. He wasn't angry when we talked. Mostly, he sounded stunned and emotional. He kept apologizing even though none of this was his fault. He told me he would have wanted to know, that he would have been there if he had known. I didn't know what to say to that. I still don't. We agreed to take things slowly and not rush into defining anything. Right now we're just talking, learning basic things about each other. Favorite foods, hobbies, small details that parents and kids usually know automatically. It feels both comforting and incredibly strange. Meanwhile, Alexa still hasn't contacted me. Not after the birth certificate arrived. Not after weeks of silence. And now I understand why. The DNA results haven't even come back yet, but at this point they almost feel like confirmation rather than discovery. The truth was already sitting on a piece of paper I was never supposed to see. I don't know what happens next. I don't know how or if I confront her. I don't know what this means for my relationship with the dad who raised me, because he is still my dad emotionally no matter what biology says. What I do know is that the guilt I felt about taking the test is gone. Because this wasn't about betrayal. It was about truth that was hidden long before I ever started asking questions. I'll update again when the DNA results finally come in, because now I think that moment is going to mean something completely different than I originally expected. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Daily Tales Update for more such stories.